So you want to make a non-alcoholic PIMMS cup? Well, here is your shopping list. Here's everything you're going to need. Screenshot it, take a photo of it, or write it down because you're going to need it in approximately 1.34 minutes. It's also going to be in the description for those people who think that I talk too much. Now, for those people who enjoy the talking, you will be rewarded with some fun facts and hopefully a bit of entertainment, starting with this. Did you know PIMMS number 1? It's not the only PIMMS. There's also a PIMMS number 2, which was Scotch based, a PIMMS number 3, which was brandy based, and so on and so on. It just so happens that the only one to take off was the gin based one, aka PIMMS number 1. You see the guy who invented it? He owned an oyster bar back in London, didn't he? Oysters was his number 1 concern. He invented PIMMS as a way to aid the digestion of said oysters. Although nowadays, even though it's still popular, it's used less of a way of digesting oysters and more of a way of digesting a thrilling game of tennis. Now, for those people who have never heard of PIMMS, and I am of course referring to the 15% of the British population or the entirety of the rest of the world, this is PIMMS. Basically, it's a sweet gin-based liqueur made with herbal botanicals, fruits and vegetables, most likely strawberries, cucumber and mint from my own deducing. And the only reason that it exists and makes approximately £86 million in retail a year is because when Wimbledon comes along, everybody drinks a cocktail known as the PIMMS Cup, which is why currently, as Wimbledon is on, PIMMS is in every supermarket, on every supermarket shelf. And for those Americans, it's basically the Kentucky Derby, mint julep. Yes. So just to put this in perspective for those Americans, it's basically you have the Kentucky Derby and the mint julep. We have Wimbledon and the PIMMS Cup. According to this article by Forbes, over 270,000 PIMMS Cups will be consumed this year at Wimbledon. But I guarantee you go to any bar, you look at any back bar in any other month except this one, July, and all you will see is half-empty bottles of PIMMS caked in dust with crusty lids and dead flies floating around that beautiful nectar as a ghostly reminder of what once was July, as a ghostly reminder of Wimbledon. Once upon a time, they tried to break away from this Wimbledon association. They tried to release a winter cup. Disastrous. But back on track, a PIMMS cup, the non-alcoholic version. Now I assume at this point you've got everything from the shopping list from before. You'll get it later? Fantastic, got you. One more thing you're gonna need is a jug because we're gonna pre-batch this. So we're gonna make a big batch so we don't have to keep coming back and remaking it every single time. Let's jump in. Strawberries, just a handful, doesn't have to be exact. Some strawberries are massive, some strawberries are small. Just use your noggin, put a few in. You wanna cut those lengthways, just cut the top off like this. Get rid of that bad boy. Cut them up, put them in. Honestly, you can cut it however you like. If you want to leave the green on, leave the green on. Be sustainable, really doesn't matter. Just cut them up, put them in the jug. Cucumber. Now if you've got a cucumber, one of these plastic wraps on it, you want to cut the tip off there and you just want to remove that wrap. We don't want any plastic in our non-alcoholic PIMMS cup. You're going to cut some off. You're going to need about 8.5 inches of cucumber. Cut that up into wheels. Throw it in the jug. Oh, and by the way, I was watching a video and someone said like and subscribe, and the like button and the subscribe button glue up in like a rainbow light around it. Did that happen when I just did that? Very interesting. I don't know how to get that to work. Anyway, back to the video. Mint, pull a bit of it off. Now you can either put the whole sprig in or you can put it between your fingers like this, pull it through and all those mint leaves will come off. Grab the mint leaves, give them a nice old spanking and put them in the jug. One orange, give that a nice juicy peel all the way around. Drop it in the jug. Then you want to get some ice. You want to fill the entire jug with ice, but first don't forget to touch all the ice and get your greasy mitts all over that ice. Yeah, just like that. And then fill the jug with ice. Next up, we're going to grab some balsamic vinegar. Now this is going to replicate that kind of acidity and the alcohol in the PIMMS. It's basically our PIMMS. Now you can go as much or as little as you want, depending on how much or as little you like PIMMS or you like strong drinks. I recommend doing for like a litre sized jug like this, You want to go in with about 3 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, and then next time you'll be able to see if you want to add more, add more. If you want to add less, well, you can't take any out, so maybe pour some away and top it the rest of the way with lemonade, or just next time do it different. But for the first time, I recommend 3 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar into the jug. Finally, we're going to grab ourselves some super cheap lemonade and we're going to top it to the top with lemonade. Give it a little stir, not too vigorous, not too crazy, just a little stir. We don't want to knock those bubbles out. I recommend only filling about halfway with lemonade, giving a stir, and then filling the top up. You know, it's less of a stir and it's more of a churning action that we're trying to achieve here, more of a churn. And there you go, the last thing to do is just to top a tall glass with your non-alcoholic PIMMS cup. Garnish that, grab yourself a nice little strawberry wheel, cut a little line in it, put it on top, get some more mint leaves, give them a little bit of a slap about, you know, maybe perfume yourself a little bit. Get those aromas going, stick it in the glass, and there you have it. That right there is your non-alcoholic PIMMS cup. Now the thing about this, with the balsamic vinegar and with all those fruits and that herbaceousness and the low calorie lemonade, it's actually quite a low calorie and, dare I say, healthy drink. It's not just an alternative to a PIMMS cup, it's its own thing entirely. I highly recommend giving it a try, not just if you're sober, but even if you're drinking and maybe you just want to, you know, raise a glass to a little bit of health and a little bit of a clear head, perfect for the tennis. All right, speaking of, let's go. Now let's talk variations. The first thing you can do is you can swap the balsamic vinegar for a strong black tea. Probably about 4 or so shots of black tea should do the job. You can also add some spices in there, things like cinnamon and star anise. That's going to replicate some of those kind of spicy flavours in the PIMMS. Another thing I like to do is I like to do half lemonade and half tonic water, which is a delicious kind of twist. Not very like PIMMS cupish, but very nice regardless. Or you can do the classic PIMMS. So just swap the balsamic vinegar for maybe 5 or 6 shots of PIMMS, and you've got a classic PIMMS recipe. For more information on everything, all the variations that I've spoken about, and even more variations,